Black people account for 12% of the American population and 0.006% of the entire world's population. Yet, they account for 9% of the entire world's prison population, and that's due to Biden's crime bill.
Keep it 100, I be feeling like Campbell soup over white rice, baked chicken with the skin on, yeah. Lowry's with black pepper, I'm fully seasoned with laughter.
What's good, Senders? It's your boy Dre, and welcome to my channel. Keep it hunting, Dre. So, first there was Tim Scott, then it was Kamala Harris. Now it's Joe Biden saying that America is not racist. So, take a look at what he had to say.
I watched the speech last night. I watched the address, and then I watched the rebuttal from the junior senator of South Carolina last night, Tim Scott. He said, among other things, America isn't racist. Is it?
No, I don't think the American people are racist. But I think after 400 years, African Americans have been left in a position where they are so far behind the eight ball in terms of education, health, in terms of opportunity. I don't think people are say, I don't want any black person around me or living next to me. I think it's that what's happened is there used to be laws that said a black person couldn't live in that neighborhood. I don't think America's racist, but I think the overhang from all of the Jim Crow and before that slavery have had a cost, and we have to deal with it.
So I'm getting pretty annoyed. It's like they all got together and discussed what would be the stupid neoliberal talking point for the week. He says he don't think that the American people are racist, but after 400 years, African Americans are far behind the eight ball. And people won't say things like, I don't want black people living next to me. Well, that's the difference between covert and overt racism. He's referring to overt racism there. But it's very ironic. Biden is saying how America is not an overtly racist country while ignoring his own overt racism, like in this video.
You must take back the streets. And you take back the streets by more cops, more prisons. I hope this crime bill, when it passes, the Biden-Hatch crime bill, as it becomes law, God willing, I hope that we will have ended, once and for all, this notion that somehow Democrats are weak on crime. The consensus is A, we must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask, what made them do this? They must be taken off the street. We all agree on that. Now we can find some fringe folks and left-wingers in my party who say, nah, that's not what we should do. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without any conscience developing, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. I don't care why someone is a malefactor in society. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society, try to help them, try to change their behavior, but they are in jail.
So it's crazy how Joe Biden mentioned slavery and Jim Crow, but of course he didn't mention the crime bill. That wouldn't fit his narrative. So did you get that? Joe Biden calling people predators just in case y'all didn't know, that's code word for black people. And I don't know if y'all remember, Hillary Clinton, around the same time, said something pretty similar. Remember this?
We need to take these people on. They are often connected to big drug cartels. They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel.
They're saying the exact same thing. That was a dumb, stupid, neoliberal talking point back then. That black people are predators and they have no conscience. The only difference was Hillary Clinton said they're super predators. Joe Biden says they're predators. He doesn't care what may have gotten them to that point. They just need to be gone off the street so they don't take on his sons and attack his mom and daughters and this other stupidness he said. He doesn't care about the causes of violence and poverty because the crime bill that he wrote and he bragged about writing, the intention of it was to throw black people in prison. Black people account for 12% of the American population and 0.006% of the entire world's population. Yet, they account for 9% of the entire world's prison population, and that's due to Biden's crime bill. More black people are locked up for drug use, mostly marijuana use, than all violent crimes combined. And when I say use, I mean the literal recreational use, much more than selling. Blacks and whites use marijuana at equal rates. Yet blacks are locked up at 4 times the rate. Whites sell drugs and marijuana at higher rates, yet blacks are locked up at a much higher rate than white people. In a place like Manhattan, a supposedly liberal city, blacks get stopped and frisked at 11 times the rate of white people. But America's not racist. The American people are not racist. You know, Bernie Sanders had something to say about this a couple of years back. Let's see what Bernie Sanders had to say about Joe Biden's thoughts on the crime bill.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong opposition to the McCulloch Amendment and, in fact, in strong opposition to this so-called crime prevention bill. Mr. Speaker, let us be honest. This is not a crime prevention bill. This is a punishment bill, a retribution bill, a vengeance bill. All over the industrialized world now, countries are saying, let us put an end to state murder. Let us stop capital punishment. But here what we're talking about is more and more capital punishment. What we're discussing now is an issue where some of our friends are saying we're not getting tough enough on the criminals. But my friends, we have the highest percentage of people in America in jail per capita of any industrialized nation on earth. We've beaten South Africa. We've beaten the Soviet Union. What do we have to do? Put half the country behind bars? Mr. Speaker, instead of talking about punishment and vengeance, let us have the courage to talk about the real issue. How do we get to the root causes of crime? How do we stop crime, which is in fact a very, very serious problem in this country? And Mr. Speaker, I've got a problem. I've got a problem with a president and a Congress which allows 5 million children to go hungry, 2 million people to sleep out on the streets, cities to become breeding grounds for drugs and violence. And they say, we're getting tough on crime. If you want to get tough on crime, let's deal with the causes of crime. Let's demand that every man, woman, and child in this country have a decent opportunity and a decent standard of living. Let's not keep putting poor people into jail and disproportionately punishing blacks.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
So back then, Bernie Sanders knew what Joe Biden is saying was complete BS. Complete BS. he probably wouldn't be critical of him today. But back then, he knew it was BS. Yes, Bernie Sanders also signed the crime bill, but he was against many provisions in it. He signed it because of the Violence Against Women's Act in the crime bill. So normally what these trash politicians would do is they would put a lot of garbage into a good bill, knowing that if someone who wants to vote for a bill for the right intentions, if they vote against it, it will look very bad. So Joe Biden put a whole lot of garbage in the crime bill, knowing that anyone who voted against it would look bad because of the Violence Against Women Act was in the crime bill. That was purposely done. So yeah, I guess we're supposed to just ignore Joe Biden's racism. Because according to Joseph R. Biden, the American people are no longer racist. Hey, maybe the R in his middle name stands for racism. Or rapist. But I'm not supposed to say that. America is somehow no longer racist. But Tim Tebow, after not playing in the NFL for 9 years, being one of the worst quarterbacks I have ever seen in my life, he has a job in the NFL right now. As a tight end, a position he never even played before. While Colin Kaepernick can't get a job in the NFL. And here's the thing about these hypocrites, right? Colin Kaepernick, the reason he's not in the NFL right now is because he took a knee during the national anthem. Y'all realize Tim Tebow always knelt during the national anthem, but somehow it's disrespectful when Kaepernick does it, but when Tim Tebow did it, it's completely fine. Kaepernick was a significantly better quarterback than Tim Tebow could have ever dreamed to be. Tim Tebow was complete garbage. But he gets a job playing a position he never played before after 9 years, while Colin Kaepernick cannot find a job at all. And his workout, he had a great workout at quarterback. The position Tim Tebow is terrible at and still can't get a job. That's because of racism, you freaking... Biden. Tim Scott, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. America's not a racist country. The American people aren't racist. You know, I was going to say maybe it mean the literal land is not racist. Like the ground, the floor, the forest, the trees is not racist in America. Because land literally can't be racist. But then Joe Biden came out and said, no, the American people aren't racist. So it's clear he didn't mean that. So that's all I gotta say for this video. I really appreciate you watching the video. If you like the content, like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the post notifications so you know when I post videos in the future. But I gotta leave you with one more thing before the video is over, and that's the word of the day. The word of the day for today is overt. Overt is spelled O-V-E-R-T. The definition of overt is done or shown openly, plainly or readily apparent, not secret or hidden. So now I will attempt to use overt in a sentence. Joe Biden has some of the most clear, overt examples of racism I have ever seen in my life. Hopefully I used that sentence correctly. So again, if you like the content, like and subscribe to the channel, turn on the post notifications because YouTube will not show you my videos unless you do so. And use overt in the comment section below in a sentence so I know you watch the video to the end. So again, I really appreciate you watching my videos. I'm Sanders. Peace.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Well, I've been stacking up. Nah, really that ain't accurate, cause I just spent my whole damn advance in the past couple months just to compensate for times we ain't have enough. Ooh.